Cambodia was in a civil war until very recently in 1970s under the rule of Khmer Rogue and Pol Pot. Today, I want to bring you to a genocide museum, an actual prison under the rule of Khmer Rogue back then, whereby people of Cambodia went through torture and massive killings was done over here. This is located in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Currently, I'm in a place called as S21 Prison. Before 1960s, 1970s, this was basically a high school. But during the administration of Khmer Rogue under Pol Pot, this was turned into a torture prison. A place where mass killing, a place where genocide was done on the people of Cambodia. I could see lots of cemeteries in front of me. Behind me, these are all the torture rooms, prison where people of Cambodia were kept, tortured and killed. I could even see blood stain in some of the rooms. They are all still kept, preserved, and this place is officially under United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. It is well preserved for people to see what happened very recently, just 50 years back then. Currently, I'm walking along the corridors of Building B. So just now I was talking on the ground floor of Building A. So in Building A, we have torture rooms. We have rooms filled with weapons used on the people imprisoned over here, the beds that they use, clothes that they use, and so on. I'm not able to show you what are in those rooms because the visitors over here cannot take photographs or videos in the room. The exhibition in Building B is a little bit more interesting for me personally. On the ground floor, there are pictures of the prisoners. One particular room was filled with pictures where thousands of skulls were discovered in this S21 site back then. That was particularly interesting and of course a little bit dark for me as well. I highly recommend you to go out there and watch videos as well as read a bit of article on Pol Pot's administration, Khmer Rogue administration, for you to get a better picture of what is S21 all about, and I believe that you find it interesting and you be encouraged to actually come and visit this place by yourself. Currently, I'm on the high floor of Building B. So this room on my left, it has an exhibition of what happened to the people of Khmer Rogue, people who were administrating during the government of Khmer Rogue. So one particular case concluded very recently in 2009. Another case was started in 2011. So the history of this place is still very young. Hence, it makes this whole visiting this whole place really interesting for me personally. Currently, I'm in Building C, so the rooms over here are filled with prison cells. These are the prisons where people of Cambodia back then were imprisoned and kept. If they were to be tortured, they are then brought to Building A. So the prisons over here, basically the classrooms over here are split into smaller prison cells which are made of either brick or wood. So on my left, you can see this chain which is well preserved even until today. I believe this chain was put up so that prisoners over here, it is not easy for them to escape if, let's say, any mass escape were to happen back then. In Building D, you can find a room filled with the actual skulls and bones of human beings which belong to the people of Cambodia who were imprisoned over here back then, and also the skulls and bones which were found on the killing fields here all over Cambodia. There was also a room full of torture items which I found way more interesting than the ones I saw in Building A. There's a jar, a huge jar. Basically, picture shows that it was filled with water and people were just hanged upside down submerged in that huge jar. There's a tub as well where it's filled with water and people tied to the tub so that they die. So a lot of other torture items which I have no name to it, but knives, bone breakers, and so on. So all the actual items, not just the pictures like the ones that I saw in Building B. So Building D has the actual. You may feel the actual experience of the people back then in S21 when you actually go into the rooms of Building D. Remember I mentioned earlier there are also killing fields all around Cambodia. So I'm in one of them at the moment. Around me, these are all the exhibitions telling stories of what happened during the administration of Khmer Rogue, the torture that the people of Cambodia went through. And this exhibition also tells about this whole field, what we could find here. Essentially, this field was used as the place where people who were killed back then were buried in thousands of numbers. It is quite sad to mention this, but there are a couple of killing fields that you can visit all around Cambodia. There are quite a number of them in Phnom Penh that you can visit. I personally visited the one in Siem Reap. The one in Siem Reap is relatively small as compared to the one you can find in Phnom Penh, but this is sufficient for me. There is a room with exhibition of the type of torture as well as the life that people of Cambodia went through during the rule of Khmer Rogue. There are also remains of the bones and skulls of the people of Cambodia who were killed in this killing field. And there's also story of Pol Pot before, during and after his rule under Khmer Rogue. Definitely this is quite dark and might be disturbing for some of you who wants to visit this place, but for me I find this really interesting to learn more about Cambodia. The civil war that they had, not very back then but very recently.